Japan and South Korea agreed WW2 comfort women deal. Japan and South Korea have agreed to settle the issue of comfort women forced to work in Japanese brothels during World War II, in their first such deal since 1965. Japan has apologized and will pay £1 billion, $8.3 million, £5.6 million, the amount South Korea asked for, to fund victims. The issue has been the key cause for strained ties. South Korea has demanded stronger apologies and compensation. Only 46 former comfort women are still alive in South Korea. The announcement came after Japan's Foreign Minister Fumio Kishida met his counterpart Yun Byung-se in Seoul, following moves to speed up talks. Later, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe phoned South Korean President Park Geun-hye to repeat an apology already offered by Mr Kishida. Japan and South Korea are now entering a new era, Mr. Abe told reporters afterwards. We should not drag this problem into the next generation. Ms. Park issued a separate statement, saying the deal had been urgently needed, given the advanced age of most of the victims. 9 died this year alone, she said. I hope the mental pains of the elderly comfort women will be eased. It is estimated that up to 200,000 women were forced to be sex slaves for Japanese soldiers during WW2, many of them Korean. Other women came from China, the Philippines, Indonesia and Taiwan. Japan-South Korea's comfort women deal. Japan will give £1 billion to a fund for the elderly comfort women, which the South Korean government will administer. The money also comes with an apology by Japan's Prime Minister and the acceptance of deep responsibility for the issue. South Korea says it will consider the matter resolved, finally and irreversibly, if Japan fulfills its promises. South Korea will also look into removing a statue symbolizing comfort women, which activists erected outside the Japanese embassy in Seoul in 2011. Both sides have agreed to refrain from criticizing each other on this issue in the international community. After the meeting in Seoul, Mr. Kishida called the agreement epoch-making. Prime Minister Abe expresses anew his most sincere apologies and remorse to all the women who underwent immeasurable and painful experiences and suffered incurable physical and psychological wounds as comfort women, Mr. Kishida told reporters. The wording of the deal does not explicitly state that the comfort women will receive direct compensation, but states that the fund will provide support and bankroll projects for recovering the honor and dignity and healing the psychological wounds. Some former comfort women, such as Lee Young-soo, have taken issue with this. The 88-year-old told the BBC, "I wonder whether the talks took place with the victims really in mind. We're not after the money. If the Japanese committed their sins, they should offer direct official government compensation." Another former comfort woman, 88-year-old Hee-nam, said, "If I look back, we've lived a life deprived of our basic rights as human beings. So I can't be fully satisfied. But we've been waiting all this time for the South Korean government to resolve the issue legally. As the government worked hard to settle deal before the turn of the year, I'd like to follow the government's lead." In Japan, journalist Nobuo Ikeda reflected the view of many on Twitter that the country had lost out, although others thought the deal could have been worse for Mr. Abe. Japan pays £1 billion and RPM apologizes, but South Korea will consult about the girl's statue. That's not a diplomatic negotiation, Mr. Ikeda tweeted. With only days left until the end of the year, the timing of the talks was highly symbolic and the expectations for results were high. Earlier in the year, the South Korean president called for a resolution to the comfort women dispute by the year's end, marking the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations. However, few believe that a quick breakthrough could be reached on a thorny issue that has strained the region for decades, and some critics say the talks have been rushed to preserve this symbolism. It's unclear if Japan's admission of responsibility was legal or just humanitarian, and Tokyo's offer of £1 billion has been described as a measure to help the women, not as direct government compensation. The dozens of surviving women have asked for a formal apology specifically addressed to themselves in direct compensation. They say past expressions of regret have been only halfway and insincere. Negotiators appear to have overcome several obstacles, including disagreements over the wording of the agreement and the amount of compensation. Tokyo was reportedly initially considering paying only around 100 million yen. Japan has repeatedly apologized or acknowledged its responsibility for wartime sex slaves, most notably in a 1993 statement by the then Chief Cabinet Secretary Yohei Kono. It had also resisted giving greater compensation, arguing that the dispute was settled in 1965 when diplomatic ties were normalized between the two countries and more than $800 million in economic aid and loans was given to South Korea. A private fund was also set up in 1995 for the victims and lasted for a decade, but money came from donations and not from the Japanese government.